What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well today. It is Sunday, June 21st, day number at least 100 something of Lockdown 2020. And this is Raphael Garcia here with episode 3 of MMA Ratings interview series. And today we will talk to Anthony Geathers, who is a combat sports photographer who has been I've been following his work for a couple of years now, but don't even really remember when I first got introduced to his content. But he is a fantastic photographer that does an excellent job of capturing some of our favorite sports, at least the ones I enjoy talking about in mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, and professional wrestling. So we will be talking to him about his career. But first and foremost, Anthony, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you coming on for today's episode.
Yeah, man, you caught me at a good time today. Uh, and it's nice to sit down for once and just get a wrap on everything today. So I appreciate you bringing me on to your show.
No problem, man. No problem. And I want to kind of hop right in because everyone that I know that is involved with photography has a story about when they first fell in love with taking pictures. So tell
Uh-huh.
me about yours. When did you first figure out that photography was a thing that you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Oh man, I'm gonna go back and say as early as I'm gonna say between middle school and junior high school, and because at the time when I was going to grade school, especially in the '90s, because during that time, everybody's in the Dragon Ball Z, everybody's in the comic books. So I started out drawing, and then lo and behold, in the seventh grade, I'll never forget it. There was because I about me, I'm a creative person. Like I'm an expressive person. So I gotta, I gotta express whatever's in my head, whatever's in my heart, whatever's in my spirit. I gotta express it. So I, I dabbled in music. I dabbled in anything creative. I dabbled in. So just one day, the social studies teacher of mine, black man, of course. One day I was in his room after school, um, because I'm usually the first person to get to places. So I just came in the room one day. He's like, "Yo, want to enter a photo contest?" At the time, I'm like, "What the fuck you mean photo contest?" And he showed me this camera, and this was when UPN was like the black channel, and then Washington Mutual was around. So they both put together this photo contest. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Gave me the camera. We both went to the orientation. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, because everybody thinks that when you get a camera, you come out like, yo, you're the man off rip. No, no, no. I'm gonna tell you right now. When I first got that camera, I was trash, like trash. Like then you could take my work and be like, yo, you can't shoot shit. But the nice thing was I got to know my community at the same time. Like usually, like growing up in Bed-Stuy, it's predominantly black neighborhood. But at the time, I'm in seventh grade. You think you know everybody, but this camera allowed me to go places and meet other people in Bed-Stuy. And I really, by the time I finished this contest, although I lost, I didn't get nothing for it, but I knew my community, and I was like, you know what? I like this photography stuff. I'm gonna keep going. So after junior high school, um, I went to high school for it. The high school graphic communication arts in Hell's Kitchen in New York, and because they had a photo program that's kind of similar to college, like the way they run it is similar to college. Like you go to graphic arts high school, you pick your major, which you want to focus on, and you'll take classes. You'll take both your regular academic classes, and then you'll take your career choice classes. So when I went to high school, when I attended high school, at first I did because part of getting in the photo program, you need a portfolio, which I didn't have because at the time I just had finished discovering photography. So I went the journalism route. I didn't like it because at the time I wasn't patient enough to write. It's funny because now on Instagram, all I do is write paragraphs. And went through the journalism program, only stayed for half the semester, and once I had enough, I was like, all right, I'm going to the photo, I'm going to the photo academy. That's what they call each major academies, and uh, I, I took it seriously. Had a rigorous film film photography program. Like you learned every you learn how to shoot on every piece of film, whether it's 35 millimeter or 4x5 or 120. You learn how to develop your film. You learn how to make your own prints using a darkroom. Everything was done uh, analog. There was no. I didn't touch a digital camera till uh, about 20 in the 2010 roughly. So after high school, I didn't go straight away to college. I was like, look, because at the time I didn't know if there was any scholarships around or whatever. So, and I wasn't ready mentally for college. I just needed a break from school because once you go to school from like pre-K all the way to 12th grade, you kind of need a break and you need to find yourself as a human being. So I went to the Marine Corps, the United States Marine Corps, after high school. Became a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. Went to combat to Afghanistan twice. And in that time, I was like, all right, what am I going to do after the Marine Corps? Because I was not. All right, the first time I went, like after the first combat tour, I was like, all right, maybe I'll think about re-enlisting. And then we had the second combat tour, and then I was like, you know what? At that time, between both combat deployments and us fighting and everything, I was like, maybe I should revisit it. I need to revisit this photography thing when I get out. So started me re-enlisting. I served all 4 out. I left, and it was straight away to college. I went to the School of Visual Arts, and I went, relearned everything, learned how to, once I relearned how to shoot on film, then transitioned into digital. And in that time, when I was at SVA for 4 years, I was looking for something. It didn't take me long to find what I wanted to focus on. After my freshman year, I was like, you know what? Because I'm a fan of it anyway. Let's do combat sports. Fuck. What's the worst that can happen? Right? So once I started, and I extended that. I was like, all right, what in combat sports do you want to focus on? And I noticed that in the Muay Thai community, kickboxing community here in New York City, a lot of black fighters were not getting the attention. So I took it upon myself to basically say, you know what? Instead of focusing on everybody, let's pay attention to a lot of the black fighters. And that's where I met fighters like Angela Hill. I met, so the people I'm going to list are people I've met and photographed. Angela Hill, former board kickboxer Wayne Barrett, two-division champion David Branch, former Bellator light heavyweight champion Liam Gary, UFC welterweight Randy Brown, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, and a whole slew of black fighters. Once you notice the pattern, they're all black fighters. So while my time at SVA, I really honed in and photographed them while I was honing my craft at college. So that's been my mission. All right, so before I wrap this up, aside from photographing them, then I was like, aside of making my platform, making my art about mainly black athletes, I was like, all right, I got other passions. So with the pro wrestling, with music, with everything else that you see on my page, but mainly in sport, and also during my time at SBA, I was focusing on street ball. Because lots of New York wing, like a lot of colleges don't have like a lot of art schools don't have sports teams. So I was like, all right, what's the way I could break into basketball without having it in college? And I was like, street ball, because again, I grew up on street ball. So photographed that and fighting for 4 years and still to this day. Um, so yeah, that in between that, focused on also pro wrestling, focused on hip hop. Um, but yeah, that's basically my story in a nutshell.
So you broke down a couple of different things there that I would like to talk about. Don't even have some of these on my list of questions today, but you mentioned your time serving in the military. That's something I did not actually know about. Were you still involved in photography from like a side kind of passion type of deal at that time? And was there anything that you shot within the military space?
Um, I tried because I bought a camera and I tried to use it on deployment because the first combat deployment was to Marja, Afghanistan, which was a pretty hellacious fight for 8.5 to 9 months. And I never forget when we were on patrol one time. It was on Sunday too. We were heading down to the battalion FOB or forward operating base, and that morning we took contact like Taliban fighters were um, attacking every patrol base. So we provide support by fire from all adjacent patrol bases, and get back on the road to go to battalion. And next thing you know, I hear two shots crack near my ear, and then the truck I was in blew up. So after that, me and the driver that was with me, we went. Both were in the we both were in the truck that got blown up by an IED. We look around, get the gun off the truck, and there goes my camera, all destroyed. So after that, I was like, all right, I ain't shooting no more until I get back in the States because I have really, I was focused, but the fact that I looked at my camera, I was like, damn. I was like, all right, I ain't shooting no more until we get back in the States. Fuck it. 'Cause I'm not buying another camera unless I'm not stepping on IED. So it was a wrap. It was pretty much a wrap for that.
True, that makes sense. I definitely understand that. Definitely understand that point there. So when you return to the States and you take up photography and you want to focus on the black athletes in the sport, what was the reception to that? Because I haven't heard of any other photographer taking those types of steps with their artwork. So what
Mm.
was the reception of, I want to focus on the black athletes that are performing day in and day out? How was that received?
All right, I ain't gonna lie to you. When I did that in college, it was hated. It was like, because all right, one thing about art school, they don't really see, they don't really, in a lot of students' work, you don't really see a whole lot of aggression and raw. You don't see a whole lot of realness of sport, basically. So um, within my so-called within the so-called class that I was in, uh, class of 2016, it was not well received. But I didn't give a damn. I was like, look, I'm not, because you got to think about it. I went to college at 22. And a lot of who I was attending college with were 18, 19 years old. So, but and being that I was the only black photographer in a lot of these classes, um, and most of these are rich white students, they hated it. And, I didn't give a damn. I was like, this ain't about you. It's about me representing, me telling story of a lot of black fighters who don't get their story told unless they go above and beyond in sports where hell, even in, we look at You look at the mixed martial arts landscape or any sport today. Fighters got to go through damn near above and beyond just to get noticed. So, when I was working on that from the ground up in college, it was not well received except for one professor I had. He was my studio professor, and he helped me craft it a bit more. But other than that, in college, it was not well received. But I stayed on the path.
So, in the professional space, in some of the promotions that you worked with, how do the promotions respond to that, and how do some of the athletes respond as well? Are they surprised? Are they more inclined to work with you? Talk to me about that space.
Okay, so I have like, all right. So what I do, all right. So how can I say this? All right. The so I did a lot more work, more so for newspapers and media outlets. Like a couple of times, I shot UFC events. That was for ESPN. When I photographed David Branch defending, when I followed David Branch as he was winning both World Series of Fighting light heavyweight and middleweight titles, I was on my own on that. So a lot of projects that I work on, I'm on my own with. Like every now and again, media outlets may reach out to me. It's like, hey, you want to work with us? But a lot of it, I work on my own. So, and what I do, I'll shoot the event, no problem. But then once you look on my Instagram, I feature more black athletes than just like the event in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how. So I'll shoot the event. I'll shoot all fighters' events. But then when it comes down, if a fighter I'm following is on the card or whatever, yeah, I'll make sure I pay heavy attention to their fight or whatever. But on my Instagram and social medias, I'll feature them more. So, for example, all right, so like all the fighters I listed that I've been working with or have worked with, I'll photograph their whole camp. Basically, I was like making mini documentaries, many photo stories. And at first it was met. At first they didn't know who I was. It's a lot of fighters. It's hard being that who they got to deal with in sport are not they're not of good character. So having a stranger, and especially me, I'm a 6', 240-pound black man. They're like, that barely speaks, but I got this serious, I got this all around me, like it's mysterious because I don't talk a whole lot, but except today. But they were like, who you? There. Once they got to know me and was like, all right, yo, he was in like the fact that I was a Marine and this, that, and third. They know that I can identify with what they go through. So once we broke, once we got to talking and they got to really know me and everything, then it just became, hey, you coming to my camp today? Coming today? You're gonna be around today? Come to my house. Come kick it with me. So it started as just like on a professional thing, and then we wind up being friends with a lot of the fighters, a lot of the black fighters that I photographed, and a lot of the like outside of working, because like I said, the only time I got to work with the UFC was when Josh Barnett fought Ben Raphael. That was in Jersey a couple of years ago. Other than that, more so media outlets. Some media outlets hire me, and then the other half is me working on my own and working with the fighters to try to get press passes to their fights. So to this day, I'm not like me. I haven't had a chance. I haven't had the opportunity to really work with the promotion. It's been on me up to this entire from college all the way to now. It's been basically all me.
Okay, all right, that makes perfectly good sense for me there. Let's talk about some of the athletes that you've had an opportunity to work with on kind of, I don't want to say side projects, but like not event projects. Like I think it was, now that I remember, I believe it was your work with David Branch is when I first got introduced to some of your content. The work with him
Right.
you did with Liam McGarry a couple of years back.
Right.
What types of projects have you done for athletes on the side like that aren't necessarily ingrained in a fight night coverage?
Okay. So the types of things that I work. One, I'll shoot their portraits. So I also have a deep knowledge of portrait photography, dealing in the studio and stuff. So I'll work with them. Even when they're getting ready for a fight, uh, like months out, I'll document the whole camp, and not just like the whole camp from a athletic standpoint. I'll follow them home, photograph like how they work, how they, managing camp, because for example, like with David has kids, so you know, so he has to, and okay, so I'll give you a story. This is a good story. So, prime example of how I work is I'll, like, me and David will meet up, you know, um, and this is especially the story I'm gonna tell you, especially when he was getting ready for Vinny Magalesh defending. I think he was, defending his light heavyweight title at World Series of Fighting. So at the time, he was getting ready to build his own gym because he was like, I need my own space and I want to make another stream of income. So Dave was doing his camp while building his gym. Like, I mean, building from scratch. He didn't have no contractors or anything. So I would help him. I helped him I like I helped him build his gym while photographing his camp. So it'll be like an early day. He'll get in. He'll train. He'll have his boxing coach or whatever. Because Dave, when he was getting ready for all his fights at World Series of Fighting, when I started meeting him, he was getting ready for his fights between Jersey and New York City. So he may do part of his camp in New York and then finish it out in New Jersey for the day. So after we're traveling through New York and New Jersey, we'll go back to his gym uh, relatively around 8, 9 o'clock, and I would help him build the gym. So, and I was photographing. So, because basically what I do, if you know the work of Gordon Parks and Howard Bingham, they pretty much followed uh, Muhammad Ali from the ring to his training camp to his home. Uh, they photographed everything between the ring, his home, when he would go to Africa, when he go to countries in Africa, when he would uh, come to New York City to see his friend at the time, Malcolm X. So I took, instead of just taking a regular fight night approach to uh, David Branch, I took more of a human route with him. So I go everywhere with him, like during the camp. Like if he went to go visit Shorty or whatever, I do that. If he's going to visit his friends, whatever, go do that. Get up Saturday morning because Saturday mornings usually go box. When he had his former trainer, Lenny, we'll meet up in Brooklyn, go drive down to East New York to Cops and Kids. Like I pretty much photograph. Like I treat his camp not just as a camp, but like I go document his entire life during that time. And then outside of fights, like if he wants portraits and stuff for his promotional thing, that's why I whip out the lights, or we'll find some place in the city and do something cool. So, yeah, like I took a very human photojournalistic approach, and that's what I do with every fighter I've ever worked with. I like between photojournalistic approach, between the portraiture, between the fight night coverage. I make sure I'm basically photographing their lives as athletes. So
So, who are some athletes you would like to work with? Who are some fighters that are still competing in from an MMA space that you would love to cover?
Well, when we get back to normal, Randy Brown, love to work again with David Branch. I want to I also want to work with Deontay Wilder because that brother right there is like, he like I could care less about Tyson Fury and these other guys, but to me, he's the Deontay Wilder's the real people's champ. So it would be cool to like work with him because um I did an assignment for I forgot the magazine's name. It's called Athletes Quarterly, where they had me follow Deontay Wilder around when he fought Archer Speaker in the Barclays, and that's one of the most fun assignments I had. So, well, personally, I would like to work with Deontay Wilder because I'm like, you see photos of him, and I've shot a number of his big profile fights. So just to bring it home and really photograph him intimately, whether he's in camp or whether he's in at home in Alabama, whatever the case may be. That's another guy I would like to work with. And not for nothing, I would like to work with some of the wrestlers in WWE because everybody knows I'm a wrestling fan. So some of those athletes, if I could like photograph their matches or find some funky way on how to do portraits for them, that's also and also boxing. I want to work a lot more with these young guns, like the likes of Shakur Stevenson, and I worked with before the pandemic had put everything at a halt. I was working with his name is Richardson Hitchens. He's another up and coming boxer. So I will also like in boxing, aside from Deontay Wilder, I want to work with a lot of the young black fighters because a lot of them are going to be very they're going to hold it down for boxing for many years coming. I want to get them. I want to make like portraits and like other kinds of work with them too.
So you actually kind of go ahead.
And sorry to cut you off. And
no, you good.
Also, I want to work with a lot of basketball players too, because I do have that love over there too in basketball. But in terms of combat sports, whether it's in boxing, pro wrestling, or MMA, a lot of those black athletes, I would love to work with.
So you mentioned pro wrestling and you being a fan of that industry as well. How did you get into shooting that space? Because I've seen on your site that you've done work for WWE and Ring of Honor as well.
Right.
So how did you end up getting into that space as well?
So there's a personal trainer I usually do work for. So one of his clients was the daughter of one of New Japan Pro Wrestling's referees. So instead of always taking payment from him, I was like, hey, instead of taking payment from you, sometime whenever there's a wrestling show in New York, I was like, yo, can you give me a wristband for a seat? Because what I'll do is I'll sneak my camera in and shoot some of the shows. So like for I wouldn't say 2 to 3 Ring of Honor shows, like the big shows, like the Final Battle. I was like, hey, you ain't gotta pay me. Pay me by if you can get me in one of those seats at Ring of Honor, I'll take it. I will because I told him I'm a pro wrestling fan and I want to get into shooting pro wrestling. So he'll give me a wristband and I'll go. I'll take my camera with my big lens and I'll do that. And then so I wasn't paid for that. That's personal work. And then I did how I got into shooting for WWE because at first I was first time I worked for WWE was a couple of charity stuff like when they go visit hospitals. So because of that, and ESPN saw my body of work by shooting the Ring of Honor, and I did shoot the indie show in the Bronx. It was in the gym. They were like, "Hey, you want to assist for one of our shooters for SummerSlam, uh, for SummerSlam weekend, because it was NXT Takeover and then SummerSlam. I was like, hell yeah! So I got to assist and shoot uh, Drew McIntyre uh, win the NXT title. And that's when Undisputed Era made their way to NXT. So between that and then, so I've had my because what I do is whatever I want to do, I'll make personal work of it. I'll put it up, and then I'll even I'll have conversations with editors and stuff. Hey, this is what I want to do. I know you guys are covering this and third. So, but yeah, that's how I got into shooting pro wrestling.
So, what are some of the differences you've noticed in shooting a scripted form of entertainment like pro wrestling and something more, and I hate to say real, but something more realistic as boxing or MMA?
With the only difference really is knowing where you're going to be. Let me explain that. So with boxing, you based on uh, a lot of people's photographs and mentorship and everything, and everybody works boxing. So there's a camaraderie. There's a bit of camaraderie. You get to get some answers on where to be, like where you need to be at ringside, or if you're going to shoot up top, over the ring or whatever. So there's that. With wrestling, it's more of you don't actually know if that's the where you're going to be at is the right spot, and because there's no when it comes to shooting pro wrestling, a lot of people don't shoot pro wrestling. You got to be for example, when I shot SummerSlam, there wasn't a whole lot of photographers covering SummerSlam. There was me. Well, all right, the first SummerSlam I shot was for WWE. No, it's for ESPN. My bad. I went to me and the photographers working. I looked because they put all the photographers on. You know where the hard cam is? So where the hard cam is, they'll put there was only 3 to 4 photographers there, and they were all in their 60s to 70s. So and they were all white guys. So you already know what that is about. But yeah, you just gotta be with pro wrestling. You just gotta there's no really one right spot to capture everything, especially when you photographing WWE events. ROH events, you can kind of roam around because the arenas that ROH get, it's more of the Hamstein Ballroom. So no matter where you are, you always got a good seat. So you can always make solid work for it. When it comes to WWE events, you only got 1 or 2 spots that you can photograph things from. So whether it's hard cam or whether the pre-show glass table, just when we have people in arenas, you can kind of go in that vicinity and photograph some stuff because you'll photograph the action, and then behind the actual wrestling, you get the Titantron. So that's a nice little background. But just position, other than that, it's really no difference because shooting pro wrestling also, you don't have the script in your hand, so you don't know what's going to happen. So it still leaves that mystique that boxing and MMA leaves in the air. You know what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying there for sure. Let me ask you this: what are some major pro wrestling events that you would like to shoot that you have not? Are there any that you have at the top of your list, like your career bucket list or anything like that?
Man, I got a defined bucket list. So I would like to shoot WrestleMania. I think if I shoot that, I'm straight. But WrestleMania, I'd like to shoot SummerSlam again. Money in the Bank, Wrestle Kingdom. If AEW gets his shit together, I would like to shoot an actual AEW pay-per-view. Trying to think of any other. Trying to think of any other stuff. If Lucha Underground was still around, that would have been on the bucket list. Because I'm not gonna lie, when Lucha Underground came on the scene, I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? I like this shit. It reminded me of a little bit of I don't know if you ever watched WMAC Masters back in the day, but it reminded me of
I'm familiar with that.
yeah, it kind of reminded me of that because I'm like, just the way they presented pro wrestling, it felt more like when you look at a WWE program, it's like, yo, it's live. It's like watching an NBA game or whatever. Everything's live and everything. With Lucha Underground, it was more like a Stars drama, like Spartacus. I was like the way it was shot and everything. It had that real. When we talk about cinematic matches and everything, that was Lucha Underground for me. It was very like everything about it was different. They played on the Chicano culture a lot. Where they filmed, I just fell in love with that. If Lucha Underground somehow some way comes back, that's on the bucket list. But by far the two big events on my bucket list in pro wrestling, I would like to shoot WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom, SummerSlam again, Money in the Bank, and big AEW pay-per-view.
Just a random question. Did you go to Mania was it not this past year, but the one before, where Kofi won in Barclays Center?
No, I didn't get to go because I was working with WWE during that week, WrestleMania week, because they had me shoot a lot of the NXT matches because they was also filming NXT matches. Sadly, I didn't get to go, but man, just the buzz around that weekend was like, woo! Like especially being in the where they had WrestleMania Access. Man, the buzz in that building for WrestleMania 36 was crazy, especially when Kofi came into because they had WrestleMania Access it was like kind of like Hangar Bay or whatever in Brooklyn, and when he entered WrestleMania Access, it was like people were like, yo, like it chills. But if I ever get a chance to work with WWE again, that next time I'm make it my business to try to photograph WrestleMania.
Yeah, I was there that year, and it was crazy up there that year too. You're definitely right.
Yeah.
I want to move over to basketball because I was looking at your site and I saw something that stood out to me. And I wanted to ask: are any of those shots at either the cage or Rucker Park? Because it looked like it, and I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Couple of those shots are like between Rucker Park, the cage, Dykeman, Gersh Park, which is all the way in East New York, and yeah, so those 4 parks, pretty much.
So I'm 36 and I am in I'm on the East Coast as well, so I'm in the Washington DC area, and I try to get up to New York every summer. One of my things when going up there is try to make it to either both the cage or to Rucker Park or one or the other, because I understand what those courts mean to basketball as a whole. Talk to me about that for people who do not know. Why are those courts so important, and why is it such a big deal for you to have shot games going on there?
Man, so I'll break it down by court too. So with Dykeman is the red carpet of basketball. So due to the fact that Dykeman get a lot more celebrities that come through the Bronx to watch a lot of the games, like between rappers, between people in the league and everything. And with Dykeman, they work hand in hand with Nike a little bit. So like Dykeman's become one of the go-to courts in New York City. Before it was Cage, but because of the because of the prestige and the um and the different kind of guests that go through Dykeman, it's become one of the hotbeds for street ball. Because when a celebrity comes to whether it's an NBA player or rapper or whatever, they sit them up. They have an actual. It's not really a skybox, but they simulate it on the court where they built a sort of like a skybox to watch the games, and like besides games they play, like it's really party central. Like guys go down there, you get your son to drink, get a little food, guys bring their weed, and it's really a good time. There's games going on from 5 o'clock all the way to 11 o'clock at night, and it's always packed in there. Dykeman has always been one of the hotbeds for basketball, and it's only growing. Now the other part, Gersh Park, all the way East New York, that's a hotbed for basketball in Brooklyn due to the fact that just prestige and the amount of players. Because let me tell you something about street ball, especially in New York. The mix of talent that comes to play in these leagues in New York is between All Americans, pros that play in Europe and other parts of the world. You got college, you got high school All Americans, like McDonald's All Americans, 4-star recruits. Like we're talking, you want to talk one of the best places for street ball. It is New York City, because the amount of talent that comes to play here is crazy. So back to Gersh. Gersh is another hotbed for basketball because Brooklyn has a reputation. Everybody goes uptown to play ball, but nobody really comes to play ball in Brooklyn because a lot of the games that being played Brooklyn, it's a rough game. It's a rough game. You gotta have some nuts about it. Like you can't just go there and expect calls every time. You can't expect fouls to call. You got to go out there. You got to show out. And Gersh is another. It's exactly like Dykeman. The amount of people that gets packed. It's damn. They're like with both parks. It rivals Madison Square Garden, despite it being parks. The noise, the energy level, the play, the music, just everything, the environment. And lots of people pack in the Gersh. Like, if you're not there early, you got to damn near climb a fence just to watch the game. Like, you got to damn near climb the park bench, like the park fence to watch the game. It is crazy. So, between those two parks, Rucker Park is not as big anymore because, with a lot of controversy and, the guys that run Rucker Park, they haven't done good business with other brands and everything, and they haven't had really any big leagues play there. It's still a monumental court. But right now, two big courts is Dykeman and Gersh with the cage coming in third place.
All right, man. I really appreciate that breakdown. That's definitely something I want to go see all of the courts there. I haven't had opportunity to make it yet, but I'm going to make that happen once we get back open and we can do a little bit more travel and be a little bit safer about it.
Yeah.
So what are some sports industries or sports leagues that you would like to shoot for and haven't had the opportunity to yet?
Oh man. Like I said, WWE is always on the list. I need to do more work with them, not just like the fan in me wants to do a lot more work with WWE. I would like to do stuff with the NBA and the WNBA. What else? I want to do some more stuff with the UFC, but I know my mouth is too crazy. Like I'm pretty sure you see me on on Twitter, just like yeah. It all depends with them. Like if as long as it's good and they don't look at my Twitter, I think I'm straight. But like between the UFC, between WWE shit, even New Japan, because I got my passport now, so if they hook it up and be like, yo, we want you to do this for us or whatever, that be straight. The NBA, shit. I'm not too keen on like football. I'm iffy on because I'm like, I could shoot it. But based on the way they treated Colin Kaepernick and stuff, it's put a bad taste in my mouth, and that's a league I'd rather stay away from. Now, if because the NHL not too long ago talked about a lot of black players late innovated hockey. So I'm like, we get some more brothers in hockey. That's another approach. That's another league I like to work with. And then baseball. So if I could touch as many sports as possible, and mainly, and also like with combat sports, if I between the UFC and Bellator and PFL, if I could rotate around those sort of leagues, I'd be straight. But aside from that, the number one priority is pro wrestling. So all those different leagues and stuff. If I could find some way to get in, even golf, Tiger's still around. So once things open back up, I want to touch it all. I want to touch everything I can because there's a whole lot of black athletes that I feel ain't getting their shine, or like there's players that I know we grew up with. I would like to photograph it all because like years down the road, I would be able to all right, here's my book, here's everything I've shot from my eyes with some commentary and things. So I'm trying to touch it all, man.
Good stuff, and I'm sure that you probably will as well too. Like, talk to me about how the global pandemic has impacted your work. You've mentioned it a couple of times when things open back up. Like, how has basically the shutdown of the sports industry impacted your ability to do your job?
Um, well, with everything closed, the good thing about living in a place like Brooklyn, New York, is it gives you work regardless. Like, not paid work, but it gives you work. So, like, granted, I haven't been able to shoot like the professional sports, but you look to the street, there's people there's people partaking in sports in the street. So, one of the things that I've been working on is shooting dirt bikes and stuff, like people riding dirt bikes and motorcycles and stuff. So I've been working on that. Once so I got to find time between shooting these protests and stuff to keep working on that. Been shooting that all summer. Got a chance to go in these parks. Kids playing basketball without the hoops, so I shot a little bit of that. I think I need to touch on that a little bit more once the kids start going back outside a little bit more. I shot some black BMX bikers. Like I came across one day, and they was riding their bikes and doing tricks on like the rails and the different things on the park. So that was cool. Got to shoot. Same day, got to shoot some skateboarders. Uh, yeah, so New York City gives you stuff to shoot. So I haven't. This pandemic ain't really hurt nothing, especially when the bikes came out. I was like, yo, I'm on it. Let me photograph this. Let me see what's going on in New York as far as that. So, uh, yeah, that's basically. So I've still been able to make work during this because also another thing about this pandemic, it hasn't really slowed me down. It just had me shift my focus to make another kind of work.
Yeah, I understand that because it hasn't really slowed me down either. You just kind of shift your work. So I saw that you shot the Democratic National Convention as well too, and you
Yeah,
mentioned it in our conversation so far. Before I ask you about shooting the protest and some of the civil unrest that's going on, talk to me about shooting the DNC. What was that like?
man, shooting the DNC was like shooting a pro wrestling show. Let me explain. All right, so my role at the DNC, I was so Instagram had hired me in partnership with the Democratic National Convention to make a series of portraits of all the important people that was at the Democratic National Convention. So I was I was like, how I don't know if you ever seen like if you watch the UFC Unfiltered, the UFC All Access YouTube specials. You know how they show the photographer always like shooting all the athletes prior to fight week? That was me at the DNC. So um, me and the assistants, they hired me. We set up because we had a small room to work in. So we set up three backgrounds in a suite. They gave us a suite. It was a relatively small room, and was working with Instagram. They got in. We created a system where we pull in all like the special guests and people that were very important to Democratic National Convention, and we was making portraits. I was shooting portraits of them from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 p.m. at night for 4 days, and just it was really like a sporting event, like between the speakers and people singing songs and the people getting all riled up. And you got the special guests coming through the suite, getting their portraits taken by me working with Facebook and Instagram and DNC. It was nuts. Just going through security, four droves of security. It was just absolute nuts. And I was not expecting that for a political event. And it's crazy. It was crazy working there. Even you walk up the stairs to walking up the stairs to the suite. They had media row, radio and podcast shows for they was covering. It was damn near like any big UFC event, like all types of media outlets, and radio shows, and television shows. It was like you want to talk about the showcase of the immortals in wrestling. When we talk about the showcase of the immortals, we know it's going to be a big extravagance and a big extravagant event. That was the DNC. It was a big extravagant event. Like I cannot count on my hands how many news outlets and media outlets and podcasts, and it was one crazy event that culminated at the end of the week. Culminated in Hillary Clinton at that time declaring her nomination to run for president. It was just a big, it was a big event, and man, that was one week I never forget. And I was high during that entire week. So for me to work that and still remember everything while being high, man. Oh
That's what's
man,
up,
but
man.
yeah, man.
Talk to me about shooting the protests that are going on now. I mean, you're in New York, but they're going on throughout the world. This is like a
Yeah,
massive moment that most people are sitting at home and watching, but there's still thousands of people out in the streets letting their voices be heard. What are you seeing out there behind the camera as you're working to shoot these events?
man, where do you want me to start? All right. So, and it happened quick too, because I was following what happened with George Floyd on Twitter and Instagram, and when the protest hit New York, that same day I was off my ass. I had my camera packed. I was like, all right, yo, where's it at? Where am I going? Because for me and a lot of my friends who are black photographers, we saw this more as me personally, we saw this as a call to duty. Like this is a moment in time. We cannot afford to just sit home. And I know everybody's trying to stay safe and not get sick and everything, but man, it was just like, all right, yo, you gotta go out there because this affects everybody that's black. So I went out first. The first site for the protest was the Barclays Center. Went out there. I never saw uh, like you always hear about stories about black people not like getting on the same page or whatever. When I started shooting these protests, that shit can go out the window because man, I've never seen that many black people go out there and protest and 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 voice their opinion the way it's been going on. Now, yeah, you've seen white people out there, but for the most part, I've been paying attention a lot more to black people because this is our fight. So been photographing a lot more black people. Along the way with these protests, I don't know if it's just me or whatever, but I've been running into a lot of Black Panther Party members and a lot of people from the Black Liberation Union, from the Black Liberation Army. Especially, I ran into one of the members of the Black Liberation Army that helped to break out Sasha Shakur from prison and help her escape to Cuba. So a lot of history, is being made, and I'm receiving a lot of historical context from a lot of revolutionaries that have done this before, have been at this before, and it's just to see our generation younger going out there and putting on a fight and putting the pressure on the government, putting the pressure on corporate America and sports league. It's putting pressure on everybody. It's been phenomenal to just photograph and to document like this movement, you know. So yeah, once this protest happened, I dropped everything I was working on. I was like, yo, right now, this is where my attention needs to be on. Not for any selfish reasons, but to document this, just like all the great Black photographers like Gordon Parks and Eli Reed and all these other great photographers have done. So, yeah, it's been a lot of civil unrest. You're starting to see a lot of Black people really question the government, question everything's getting questioned right now, even on the ground. A lot of even a lot of the younger crowd is starting to form up groups and everything to try to liberate themselves from this country. So it's been a lot that's going on. It's really been a lot that's been going on.
Yeah, it's definitely been something to watch, and I'm leaning towards the side where I think that we will finally see some types of structural change across the country. At least I'm hoping for that to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, Anthony, before we close out, man, why don't we let everybody know where they can find your work, and if they're interested in working with you, what are the best ways of getting in touch with you?
All right. The best way to get in touch with me is you can go on Instagram and find me at Anthony B. Geathers. That's it on Instagram. At Anthony B. Geathers, or if you want to go to Twitter route, you can find me at Brooklyn's Son. I say again, you want to reach me through Twitter, go to the profile that says at Brooklyn Son. At Brooklyn Son, you'll find me there. Also, my website, AnthonyGeathersPhoto.com. You can. I got my email and everything there, and I got my social media links, so you can see me there. Yeah, I'm all over the place between Instagram, between Twitter, even my website. You'll be, and also my email if you want to work with me, or just hit me up and ask questions. I'm at AnthonyGeathersPhoto@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking your last couple of hours or so of this time on Sunday to talk with me about your career. I really appreciate following you and your work across social media, and I hope you all the best. And I know you're going to see some great things once we get out of this global pandemic.
Oh yeah, like it's crazy because I've been working like crazy during this pandemic. So once we get out of this thing, yeah, I'm best believe I'm definitely coming out swinging. And y'all gonna see a lot more of me around. So
Good stuff, sir. Well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a great week.
you too.